All right, guys. So, welcome to the first module of this course or of this toolkit, and let's get straight into it. Okay. So, how do you define who you want to target? Because this is a common mistake that people make. Okay, when you ask them who is your ICP, because I'm sure that you've heard about ICPs, they say something like, "Oh, I work with e-commerce brands or apparel brands or SaaS companies, something like that," right? And that's cool, okay? And some people who claim to be like gurus on this, or like who are basically gurus in this space, they will tell you, "Oh, this is not ICP. ICP is more defined, like e-commerce brands in the clothing niche who are, or who have more than 50 employees but less than 200 employees, something like that." That's still not what we want to achieve here, okay? So let's define what we mean by targeting or like ICPs on LinkedIn, okay? So the whole purpose of defining an ICP is so we can connect with them. That's the sole reason why we want to do it in the first place, okay? This is the main advantage of LinkedIn for B2B, okay? Because you can directly connect with people in your like within your ICP, so then they see your content, and if somebody sees your content, they're way more likely to, to interact with it, uh, as opposed to someone who doesn't see the content, obviously, right? So we want to get people in our network to see our content, which will then, nurture them and turn them into leads, into inbound leads, right? So we want to basically treat them and nurture them over time to get them to, become our leads. Now, in order to do that, we have to first connect with them, and to connect with them, we need to know who we want to be connecting with. So in this case, we're talking about humans, about individuals, about people, right? So let's say you work with e-commerce brands. Your ICP in this case isn't really an e-commerce brand. It's not even like a clothing brand. It's the person that works in the company that you're targeting, but who's in charge of the department that you're after. Okay. So let's say that you sell marketing services to, I don't know, e-com brands, for example, right? And it's some sort of advertising service. So you want to be targeting probably the CMO, maybe the vice president of marketing, maybe even like, paid advertising manager, depends on how big the company is. And the easiest or most simple way to figure out who you want to target is to look at your current clients that you already have and see who did you have to speak to in order to sign them as a client. Okay. So for example, let's say that you work as a fundraising, not manager, but a fundraising specialist. Okay. So you help software companies raise money by, I don't know what you do. Okay. So in that case, if it's a startup that you're targeting, or like somebody in a startup that you're targeting, you probably want to go as high as the CEO or the founder, right? But on the other hand, if you sell accounting to 8-figure or 9-figure companies, you probably just want to talk to the CFO, or maybe, I don't know, somebody in the financial department, not really the CEO, right? So as the company gets bigger that you're targeting, the lower the title needs to be. Okay. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't go after the whales, after the, the big guys. I'm not saying that. I think you absolutely should, but I think that you should be realistic. And let's be honest, okay? If you, for example, if you sold some sort of tracking device, or not, like a tracking software, to brands, it would be pretty difficult to explain it, or like explain the importance and the value to a CEO who's just interested in like managing people, right? So that's what I mean by that. So first, just look at who you had to speak to in order to sign your clients as clients, and then write it down and be specific. Okay, it's title in, type of company with X, Y, and Z employees. Okay. And that's the ICP. That's what we want to achieve here. Okay. So write it down and bring it with you to the next steps, because we will be using it throughout this toolkit. Okay. So yeah, see you in the next step.